Hi there, this is Anthony with FourscarsGaming.com bringing you a review for Battlefield 2042 on the PS5, developed by DICE and published by Electronic Arts. War-based shooters may not be for every gamer in the world, but Battlefield 2042 is certainly trying to be at the apex of them all. Borrowing many elements from very popular titles and infusing them into Battlefield's already well-known and highly praised gameplay loop could be an all-out chaotic war zone. Many players have been waiting for what seems like a fortnight to get their hands on this latest entry. But is this Battlefield 2042 or Battle Royale 2042? Presentation and sound. EA is known for its presentation. All of their games are marvels graphically. Although 2042 isn't the best looking game I've played, it certainly was pretty to look at. Watching things blow up, taking in the diverse and dynamic vistas was easy on the eyes. Just like any Battlefield launch, this game comes with its fair share of awkward animations and bugs, but for the most part it didn't detract too much from the overall presentation. The UI isn't exactly the most intuitive to navigate at first. With the additions of specialists and the change to the way gun customizations are added, I found myself lost trying to navigate menus more often than I'd like to admit. I experienced a glitch with the UA mid-game quite frequently. It wouldn't let me select a loadout. This was actually terrible. I wanted to change guns and pick a new specialist, but I seemed to be locked in for a whole match. For the most part, the sound was what you would expect in a Battlefield game, with gunshots, explosions, and vehicles humming constantly through a match. But there was one glaring issue. The positional audio was surprisingly bad. It was a common occurrence to hear an enemy around one corner, only to find them 100 yards in a completely separate location. Considering maps are massive, and there's so much going on in every direction, it's a real problem trying to find out exactly what you should be paying attention to. Another minor issue I had with the presentation was with the specialists. At the end of each game, you're treated to a weird diss track from the top player's specialist.
Sometimes they just line up for you.
Not gonna lie, this made me uncomfortable. Not because I was cringing at the horrible one-liners, but because this game is veering so far away from its roots. A team game that used to be about our team versus their team is now a step or two away from breakdancing soldiers with unicorn helmets. The accolades given to players don't match a team-centered game like Battlefield. Gameplay. Depending on if you're a seasoned Battlefield veteran or a newbie to the series, gameplay will be a mixed bag here. Whether you're driving a tank or stuck in a shootout, the gameplay for 2042 is in fact solid. I found that I enjoyed the gunplay quite a bit, and the multiple modes the game has to offer will keep players entertained for a decent while. There are 3 main modes to plant your soldiers' feet on: All-Out Warfare, Hazard Zone, and Portal. Battlefield 2042 seems to be shopping around with its player base and has introduced some substantial changes to its tried-and-true formula. The biggest change to the flow of the game is the removal of the class system in place of specialists, and the addition of the on-the-fly weapon attachments. While Battlefields of the past had players choose to be a dedicated engineer, medic, or sniper, 2042 is trying to give players the best of all worlds. At first glance, this is a jarring change and left me confused about which game I was playing. To better understand this change, one can say the specialists can be easily compared to heroes in a hero-based shooter. Specialists have one unique specialty and one unique trait. For example, the specialist Boris. He has the ability to drop a sentry gun as a specialty, and a trait that allows him to spot an enemy when his sentry gun locks onto a target. Other than the 2 unique aspects, across 10 different specialists, everything else is completely interchangeable. This is where things feel a bit more like a Call of Duty game. Spawning with a new loadout every death, the new addition of changing on the fly, and being able to not completely be mapped to a certain class kind of took the team-based feel out of the gameplay. One of two things will likely occur in your experience with Battlefield 2042. One, you'll be extremely excited, you get to do whatever the heck you want with barely any limitation to your loadout. Or two, you'll be really confused or disappointed that the DNA of Battlefield has gone completely out the window. Now, this being said, option one has some substantial weight to it, since you've never been able to be a sniper that's also a medic in a Battlefield game before. But here's the biggest argument as to why players, including myself, may not enjoy this change. Battlefield is a squad-based game about picking your roles and working towards objectives as a team. The additions of specialists throws everything up into the air. I couldn't help but feel a bit confused in each match since I couldn't tell what each of my squad members were trying to achieve. Was my squad mate who selected the specialist, Sundance, who has an explosives-based ability, actually running a sniper build? How the heck do I know who's going to take out the tank that's been causing problems? To everyone's surprise, it's actually the specialist Casper, who very clearly is the sniper-based dude, that decided to take a bazooka into the field. It's all very disjointed. If you're a fan of the Battlefield experience, this change takes away much of the core personality of the game. Since everyone on the field could be anything they wanted at any point in time, there was no focus. Who even cares? It becomes much more solo-based than team-based, and no matter which way you want to slice it, identity-wise, this isn't what Battlefield has been in the past. An addition to 2042 is dynamic weather. During a match, a tornado or a sandstorm might pop up randomly for a visit and cause absolute chaos. I found the dynamic weather was kind of like going to visit the Statue of Liberty. It's fun at first, but you get the idea once you've seen it once. The weather additions are cool, but they rarely overtly change the gameplay enough for me to feel its impact. The tornado disaster is admittedly very cool, but other than looking cool, it's not as big of a deal as I'd come to believe it would be after watching countless trailers. I think the on-the-fly weapon attachments, although confusing to work with at first, was a positive addition. With the huge maps and evolving gameplay scenarios that are part of Battlefield, being able to quickly adapt was fun. At one point, I may find myself on top of a tower in a prime sniping spot. I can quickly change my gun to a better scope. The next moment, I'm going down into that tower and need to get into close quarters, so I change the scope to something with a smaller magnification. Very cool stuff. On a side note for guns, the variety of guns available at launch is frankly embarrassing. A part of the fun of Battlefield games is slowly unlocking new and interesting weapons as you progress through a class. Battlefield 2042 has just mailed it in and provided an almost non-existent selection. As a point of reference, Battlefield 4, at the time of its launch, had 9 LMGs to unlock. Battlefield 2042, at the time of its launch, has 2 LMGs. I'll give you a second to digest that. A game about shooting things, set in the near future, has somehow found itself short on guns. Battlefield freaking 1, set in a time period when wooden sticks and slingshots were considered legitimate death machines, had 8 LMGs at launch. EA has no excuse to provide this small amount of content, other than the fact that they're rushing out an unfinished game and want you to eat up their live service. Glitches and overall performance. I have to give a shout out to the general shaky and inconsistent experience I had with matchmaking and inconvenient glitches. Unfortunately, horrible game launches seem to be pretty common for these Battlefield games, but yikes, this was pretty bad. There were about 2 or 3 occasions where All 128 people would load into a game, and then we would all be stuck on the map screen. Another glitch kept me in a downed state permanently during a match. I could only fix this glitch by leaving the match. Sure, 80% of my matches went without a hitch, but those 20% that went wrong went oh so horribly wrong. Game Mode Overview. Battlefield 4, released in 2013, had 7 multiplayer game modes and a single-player campaign. Battlefield 2042 has 3 multiplayer game modes in Conquest, Breakthrough, and Hazard Zone. Portal will be treated differently since it's a user-generated sandbox mode, but the contrast in the amount of content between Battlefield 4 and 2042 is pretty scary. That's right, folks. You do not get a dedicated Battlefield 2042 team deathmatch. Welcome to the future of gaming. Conquest has no new updates of note other than the player count going up to 128. For those that are unfamiliar, this game mode is about maintaining control points on a map. If your team controls a majority of the points, the tickets or respawns of the other team depletes faster. I will mention that with the increased player count, you're less likely to find yourself running around trying to find people. It wasn't as impactful as I thought it'd be, but I think it doesn't hurt. Breakthrough is a new game mode for 2042. It's in the spirit of Rush from the previous Battlefield games, except instead of planting a bomb to win a sector, it's about maintaining the subdivisions of a map to unlock the next objectives. I did enjoy this game mode. I found the 128 player count was really thrust into the limelight during these matches. Because every player's main interest is the 1 or 2 sections of the map, everyone clusters into that area. Things can get a little crazy. It's a good mode, and the familiar feel to Rush makes it all the better. This game has some identity issues, but it's nice to see some echoes to the battlefields of Christmas past. Hazard Zone is a high-stakes, 1 specialist per team, squad-based extraction game, similar to games like Hunt Showdown or Escape from Tarkov. Players are dropped into maps to recover data drives. If you make it out alive with these data drives, you get more credits to spend on the next match. Die during the match, the round is over, and you start at 0. This mode is drastically different than All-Out Warfare and makes Battlefield 2042 feel like a team-based game more than what's available in the other game modes. Since only 1 specialist can be picked per squad, team composition is very important. Going in and finding the data drives becomes a high-stakes game of survival. Currency in the form of dark market credit are earned through extraction and give players a chance to unlock more weapons for the next run only. If you die and your squad is eliminated, you lose everything you had in that round. If you and your team do happen to be successful, you can get extraction streaks with your specialists and unlock discounts for tactical upgrades. Overall, this seems like it would be a very fun mode to get deep into with a squad of players you know very well. Without having voice chat in the game and being able to communicate really well, this mode falls a bit short. If you're buying Battlefield to play without a tight-knit group of player friends, you may want to steer clear of Hazard Zone until you have a really sharp take on the specialists and their abilities. Portal is the part of Battlefield 2042 that has the most potential to draw in players. Portal gives players access to limited amounts of 3 previous entries in Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 2 Bad Company, and Battlefield 3. Players also have the ability to craft any kind of game mode within the limits of the editor. It's basically a sandbox to play in for Battlefield games. For example, I played a Zombies Rush mode for Battlefield 3. What does that mean? Well, one side had 52 Battlefield 1942 characters with only knives, and the other side had 12 Battlefield 2042 specialists with guns, all being run on a Battlefield 3 map. It was unique and pretty fun. Obviously, the novelty of something like this wears off pretty quickly, but it gave me hope that there will be some creative and fun innovations in the weeks to come. After going through that crazy game mode, I ended up playing a vanilla conquest for Battlefield 1942 and a rush match in Bad Company 2. For those craving the good old days of Battlefield, you'll have a great time with this. For those who aren't connected to those games, you'll have user-created game modes to look forward to, and the possibilities will hopefully be endless. Conclusion. I would argue people want to play Battlefield because of its tried and true formula. This entry feels like it's pushing the hero characters, quick gameplay, and live service a bit too much. At one point I felt like I was playing Apex Legends in Battlefield. At another moment it felt like I was playing Call of Duty in Battlefield. Not once did it feel like I was playing Battlefield in Battlefield. In trying to make fans of Battle Royale games, hero shooters, and team-based shooters all happy, what EA DICE has done is in fact make no one happy. If this was a free-to-play title at launch or in early access, it would be an easier pill to swallow, and players could remain curious and optimistic about the live service updates to come and want to keep respawning for more and more battles. But at the time of this review, paying full price is like being downed but not having a medic nearby. As it stands at launch, EA is not giving you the full game today, promising you a full game eventually. From my perspective, that means you should not give EA your full wallet today and consider giving EA your hard-earned money eventually. Keep it locked on 4scarsgaming.com for more gaming news and reviews.